I am Dr. Lalit Pandey from India, my state Rajasthan and the city Udaipur. My title of the paper is Socio-Economic and Political Development in Mewar, Rajasthan, India in the post-Chalcolithic period. Uh, it is generally believed that after Chalcolithic cultures in India, generally in India and particularly in Rajasthan, after the decline of the Chalcolithic cultures, the region faced a desertion, and after a 900 years, again the culture developed here, and that was the early historic culture. But I want to here challenge this theory of the desertion on the basis of the few carbon 14 dates which we have received uh, from the excavations of the minings and in which the eminent metallurgist B.D. Craddock and others, they have got the evidence of the old minings, and that goes from ranges from 1600 BC to around 400 AD. So now I begin my paper. Hmm. Rajasthan is an important geographical zone of northwestern India and located like a triangle between Delhi, the Gulf of Cambay and the Bay of Bengal. The world's oldest range, Aravali, bisects it diagonally in western and eastern zone. Western zone is entirely desert and the eastern is comparatively semi-arid. The southeastern part of Rajasthan is known as Mewar, a very congenial to human habitations. Mewar has Som, Mahi, Jakham and Bedaj Banas or Banas two river system. The Bedaj Banas system is in the core area that has attached man since the earliest times. Likewise, the Stone Age cultures became the center of one of the most distinguished Chalcolithic cultures that is known as the Ahar or Banas culture. Ahar or Banas is considered a prominent culture, Copper Age culture, outside the Harappan zone, which has the credit to evolve independently as the richest among all of the other Chalcolithic cultures. It was the prevalent notion that in 1500 BCE, after the decline of the Ahar or Banas culture, Mewar faced desertion of around 900 years, and thereafter only in the 6th century BCE, the early historic settlements could evolve in a scattered manner. Presently, a good number of sites have been excavated and sufficient material evidence is available to know much better about the early historic period. The sites like Nagri, Ahar, Gilun, Bagor, Jawar, Rajpur, Dariba, Agucha, Balathal, Lachura, Iswal, and Nathara Ki Pal have been excavated over the last several decades. Interestingly, that the Jawar, Rajpur, Dariba, and Agucha are essentially the mining sites and were excavated by the scientists of Hindustan Zinc Limited, a public-private uh, sector enterprise. The available dates of C14 and the relative dating methods confirm that during the 4th century BCE, Mewar plain had been thickly inhabited and out of which Agucha was inhabited in the 5th century BCE, and the typological analysis of material objects of one other site, Lachura, excavated indicates its antiquity around 7th century BCE. The material evidence and available 314 dates go against the prevalent notion. They compel us to except that Mewar was did not deserted after the decline of the Ahar or Banas Chalcolithic culture. Though it is controversial, there is also strong evidence of iron in 1300 BCE. It is believed that by a large number of archaeologists that the inhabitants of the Ahar or Banas culture were not aware of this, and it was an accidental finding. Besides, Another site, Iswal, which is hardly 25 kilometers from Ahar, provides a C14 date 1053 BCE. But during the last 4 decades, the available C14 dates of the sites of Jawar, a site of the earliest zinc metallurgy, and Rajpura Agucha and Dariba, also the sites copper, silver, and zinc metallurgy dates vary between 1600 BC to 3rd or 2nd century Common Era, support the hypothesis of continuity of socio-economic and political development in Mewar, and it rejects the earlier views of the desertion. Furthermore, the Jawar is considered one of the most prominent sites of zinc metallurgy, which has provided very early evidence of the zinc production. Based on C14 dating, the 4th century BCE is widely accepted as the date of the zinc extraction from the zinc ore, but the charcoal samples of some unspecified locations of the Jawar mine area were the modern mines cut into the lower part of the ancient working gave calibrated dates of the 850 BCE to 250 BCE. And another example from near the surface of the Jawarmala mine gave the date between 400 BCE to 350 Common Era. Besides, a wood sample from a sheepfold gave a calibrated date of between 800 to 150 BCE. In this context, Village and others also observed the evidence of the ceramics with many complete and near complete vessels in which some of the pots are identical to Atranji Kheda. This is a site in the UP, datable to the last quarter of the first millennium BCE. During the investigations of the mining operations of Jawar, Dariba, Agucha, Village and others also noticed various objects like small jars for water or oil, or of about a liter together with some larger vessels of perhaps 3 to 4 liters capacity. They were for the they were for the miners. The Rampura Agucha, which is one of the most prominent sites, also provides the calibrated date around the mid of late first millennium BCE, 850 to 250 BCE, and at 20 meters depth, that is about the same depth as the working investigated here, 850 BCE to 750 BCE, 500 BCE to 200 BCE from the open cast south wall, that is the 400 to 190 BCE, and from another side, that is 410 to BCE to 160 BCE. From a drilled core of 30 millimeter depth, a twig from the bosquet from site number 11 gave a date 850 BCE to 150 BCE. It appears that in both the mines of Rapura, Agucha and Dariba, the presence of large quantities of gosan, upper and exposed part of the ore, testify of their potentiality as a profitable mining. Thus, it may say with conformity that in these above cited mines, right from the first millennium BCE, the mining had begun and it continued for about 900 years. It is quite astonishing that they had developed advanced technology for mining into the deepest corner of the mine. In addition to this, the evidence of the daily activity like the rim shirts of various terracotta vessels, complete domestic pots, spouted water vessels, fragments of the crucible rim, fragments of the large bowls or open dishes, and ingots, molds of the terracotta indicate the presence of the miners and the extensive mining also. These domestic pots are of fine fabric and their internal part is decorated. Now the question arises, why these mining activities were so extensively happening at Mewar as it is widely accepted that by 1000 BCE, the socio-political and economic process of development had taken place, and most probably the Mewar was a regular provider of the essential metals to the North Indian political principality. The following evidence strongly confirms the socio-economic and political linkage between Mewar and the North India. As it is mentioned earlier that some terracotta pots of the Jawar, Dariba and Rajpur Agucha resembles the pottery of the Ganga Jamuna Doab. The recovered early historic pottery from the major archaeological sites like Nagari, Balathal and Nagucha, including the discussed mining sites, resemble the pottery of Hastinapur, Kaushambi, second and third period between the 8th century BCE to 2nd century BCE. The Atranji Kheda, a very important site of the UP, needs special attention to understand the link between Mewar and the Ganga Yamuna Doab. According to the excavator, the cultural equipment of the period of the site, which is dated between 1400 BCE to 1300 BCE, mainly includes objects of copper and semi-precious stones, and may infer based on the entire complex, the period represents the settlement in the entire upper Ganga valley of a people whose culture had an affinity with the Chalcolithic cultures of the upper Deccan on the one hand and the Banas on the other. The scientific analysis of 29 carbonized microbotanical remains of Ojiana, a site in South Rajasthan, Bhilwara town, an important site of Ahar culture, reveals that in the cultivation of rice, the crop, the Ganga Valley region in the economy of Aharians of Rajasthan is also considerably important. It is the discovery of the Pokhariya of Lucknow. It is very prominent evidence to attest that since the 3rd millennium BCE, the interaction between Mewar and the Ganga Valley was mutual, and this interaction also continued in post Chalcolithic period also. Likewise, in the rest of the world during the 9th and 8th century BCE, money economy has emerged because of the growing trade, and silver became the base metal for mining coins. Though before the emergence of the empire of Maurya, which was one of the largest empires in South Asia, the coins had become an important medium for trade and commerce as they reached their maximum by the time of Maurya because of their vastness. As silver was the most favorable metal for minting, it compelled the rulers to get silver evidence. The scarcity of silver ore intensified to search for new zones of rich silver ore. Thus, despite the vast distance, the efficient administrative structure of the Maurya made it possible to exploit silver from the Aravalli hills. The decentralized structure of the Maurya helped them maximum, and it became possible for them to get it through the provincial governors of the Mewar, of Malwa region and upper Ganga plains, which are previously known as the Ujjain, Jaipur, Bharatpur, Kurukshetra region. During the time of Maurya, these were respectively known as the Avanti and the Matsya. The latest archaeometallurgical researches, which was conducted by Craddock of the British Museum and others, certify the theory that the Aravalli was the most potential source of silver ore. He confidently supports that the evidence of the metallurgy of the extraction of silver from the ore very astonishingly resembles the description which has been mentioned in the Arthashastra. Arthashastra is a book of Vishnu Gupta, a Brahmin sage, and he had composed it in 4th century BCE, and in my opinion that is the first book in the at least in the South Asia on the statecraft of any kingship or kingdom. This book is, and it has discussed the mining in detail. And according to Craddock, the descriptions of the Kautilya Arthashastra, they very much resembles with the mining evidence of the all sites which have been discussed in above description, the Jawar, Abuja and Dariba. Here, I want to say this that on concluding remarks that I have taken the evidence of the carbon 14 dates, and here my purpose is to uh, prove it that the when we are lacking all the material evidence from the sites, the carbon 14 sites, they help us to reconstruct the history of the dark periods of the history of the world, and especially to the South Asia, India and in the Rajasthan. Therefore, I have taken all the evidence of the carbon 14 dates which the various argument metallurgists have got after the analysis, carbon C14 analysis from the various sites. Thank you.